West Side Decorating Center. Good morning to you on this Veterans Day, a day we reserve to remember those who have fought to give us the freedoms that we all enjoy in this wonderful nation. Talk more about it later on. Coming up this morning after the 10 o'clock news, Bay County Executive Jim Barsha will chat with us. And it is noted that Bay County, we believe, is only one of two counties in the state of Michigan that has a Veterans Affairs office. I think the other is one of the counties in the Detroit area. May have been Wayne, I'm not positive. We'll find out this morning when we talk to Jim about it. That and other things happening in Bay County. At 11 o'clock on Focus, we're going to talk about Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner with folks from Pat's Food Center. For this hour, we were expecting to hear from Bridget Smith in Frankenmuth, but she might be tied up this morning. So we're going to talk about veterans and veterans affairs and veterans and how they came back from the wars and the difference in the various ways we treated them. And I'm also going to revisit what we just did about a half hour ago on the morning team show. That is the piece of prose called What is a Veteran by Marine Corps Chaplain Father Dennis Edward O'Brien. We will get to that in a little bit. But some thoughts as someone who did not serve, and not because I didn't want to. I went to college at a very young age. I was 16. And when I got there, rather than join a fraternity, of which I had very little interest at the time, and I was so young, I was too young to be thrown into the 18 and 20-year-olds in the fraternities, I decided that I would join the Air Force ROTC because I had some desires to maybe be a pilot someday. And in doing that, at some point in time, I had to take a physical. And as my mother had done with the draft board in New York City, I found out later, she had gone to the doctor not wanting me to go off to war and fight and all of that. I had asthma as a child, and she had the doctors write a letter, which they did. So consequently, I go to take a physical, and it ain't going to happen because the physical shows that I have asthma. And the military was not accepting young people with asthma if they had it up through the age of 16 because they became responsible for that person. And if that person had an asthmatic attack and something serious happened while they were in the service would be responsible for them for the rest of their lives, and et cetera, et cetera. So I had to drop out of that and gave up that dream of any military career. And later on, when I became draftable, I was 4F'd, which meant you couldn't join the military for medical reasons. So the military career thing went by the wayside, but I never lost my desire to join. I certainly never lost my respect for those who did join and have fought for this nation. And I don't care if they had a desk job. They served us. They served us so that we can live the lives we live today in the freest nation on earth. And as we've just seen with the battle in Congress, with freedom comes challenges to do stupid things, as well as do the right thing and be the greatest nation on earth. We owe all that to veterans. We all owe a debt of gratitude which I don't ever think can be repaid. It's continuous. When I see a person in uniform, without fail, I say thank you. And usually their response is, it's my pleasure, which just tells you the type of person they are. And we haven't been so diligent as a nation in past conflicts. Those returning home from Vietnam, some were spat upon, yelled at, things thrown at them. It was a disgrace, the way we treated our Vietnam veterans. We've come around now, and I think we have a different understanding of it as a nation, and a better understanding, and we certainly treat veterans with much better respect than we did in the past. And apologies are just empty words. You know, if you spat upon a veteran and then you say, oh, gee, I'm sorry, you already did the act. The I'm sorry doesn't mean much. We as a nation have to do better. We can't forget the past. We should learn from the past. But men and women who put on the uniform to sacrifice their lives so that we have better lives and safer lives deserve all the accolades we can laud upon them, and all the benefits they've been promised, without question, without hesitation. They are the backbone of this nation. They are what, from our various early times, what allowed this nation to be formed, to what has allowed this nation to survive. They are our heroes. Many of them are our relatives. Many people have relatives who served in some of these past conflicts. If we're smart, we'll sit down and record them for posterity, because we are losing them. The greatest generation is hardly here anymore because they have passed on. If you know someone of the greatest generation and you have the time and they are willing to talk about it, and that's another consideration because not all veterans are willing to talk about it, you should record them for posterity so that we never forget what they did to further this country. Just some thoughts on it. When I come back, we did a piece, as I mentioned, last hour. It's called What is a Veteran by Marine Corps Chaplain Father Dennis Edward O'Brien. I want to read it again because it's poignant. It sets the tone. It describes it very well. So we'll take a break, and then we will be back. After that, I'm going to open up the phone lines and ask you if you were a veteran, where you served, what you did in the military. I'll also tell you about a recent trip I did to California with a local friend of mine who I will tell you about, who served, and how we were treated at the USS Midway Museum in San Diego. All that's coming up after this.
Since 1947,
Hi, we're back here on the Art Lewis Show on this Veterans Day, 2025. Before I get to the What is a Veteran piece that I'm going to read, I've been talking over the past couple of months, teasing every now and then about our next trip put on by Connoisseur Media and Colette Vacations. Well, I'm here. This is a great day to announce it on Veterans Day, because next year marks the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and Connoisseur Media, in cooperation with Colette Vacations, is offering a tour featuring the early history of this wonderful nation. Beginning October 12th of 2026, you'll fly to Boston to begin this educational journey. From the cradle of the American Revolution, you will visit Lexington, Concord, and Boston. Then it's on to New York City with a stop at West Point. After New York, it's on to Philadelphia, Valley Forge, and Washington, D.C. Included is a visit to Mount Vernon and Arlington National Cemetery, where you can pay your respect to the tomb of the unknown soldiers. This historic tour includes transfer to Detroit Metro from Saginaw, all hotels, 12 meals, and all touring. Now, to find out more and request a brochure, email me, artlewis@wsgw.com. I will also send you a Zoom meeting link for December 10th at 4 o'clock, hosted by Colette's Ed McKenna, to talk all about this tour. But don't wait. We are pretty certain this tour is going to sell out. Again, it departs October 12th of 2026 as we celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. We take you on a historic educational journey. You'll be hearing about it much in days ahead. All right. So I said I wanted to read this piece we read this morning again, because I think it's important. It's entitled, What is a Veteran? By Marine Corps Chaplain Father Dennis Edward O'Brien. I do not know the year in which it was written. And it goes like this. Some veterans bear visible signs of their service. A missing limb, a jagged scar, a certain look in the eye. Others may carry the evidence inside them, a pin holding a bone together, a piece of shrapnel in the leg, or perhaps another sort of inner steel, the soul's ally forged in the refinery of adversity. Except in parades, however, the men and women who have kept America safe wear no badge or emblem. You can't tell a vet just by looking. What is a vet? A vet is the cop on the beat who spent 6 months in Saudi Arabia, sweating 2 gallons a day, making sure the armored personnel carriers didn't run out of fuel. A vet is the barroom loudmouth, dumber than 5 wooden planks, whose overgrown frat boy behavior is outweighed 100 times in the cosmic scales by 4 hours of exquisite bravery near the 38th parallel. A vet is the nurse who fought against futility and went to sleep sobbing every night for 2 solid years in Da Nang. A vet is the POW who went away one person and came back another, or didn't come back at all. A vet is the drill instructor who has never seen combat, but has saved countless lives by turning slouchy, no-account punks and gang members into Marines, airmen, sailors, soldiers, and Coast Guardsmen, and teaching them to watch each other's backs. A vet is the parade-riding legionnaire who pins on his ribbons and medals with a prosthetic hand. A vet is the career quartermaster who watches the ribbons and medals pass him by. A vet is the 3 anonymous heroes in the Tomb of the Unknowns, whose presence at the Arlington National Cemetery must forever preserve the memory of all the anonymous heroes whose valor dies unrecognized with them on the battlefield or in the ocean's sunless deep. A vet is the old guy bagging groceries at the supermarket, palsied now and aggravatingly slow, who helped liberate a Nazi death camp and whose wishes all day long that his wife were still alive to hold him when the nightmares come. A vet is an ordinary and yet extraordinary human being, a person who offered some of his life's most vital years in the service of his country, and who sacrificed his ambitions so others would not have to sacrifice theirs. A vet is a soldier and a savior and a sword against the darkness, and he is nothing more than the finest, greatest testimony on behalf of the finest, greatest nation ever known. So remember, each time you see someone who has served our country, just lean over and say, "Thank you." That's all most people need, and in most cases, it will mean more than any medals they could have been awarded or were awarded. Again, 2 little words that mean a lot to any veteran. Thank you. What is a Veteran by Marine Corps Chaplain Father Dennis Edward O'Brien. A great piece of prose, to say the least. We hope today you take time from your busy schedules to maybe visit a Veterans Plaza like in Saginaw, where they will have a ceremony. If there's a parade, catch the parade. Just take some time out of your busy day just to remember those who have given us the lives that we enjoy, the freedoms that we enjoy, with all the faults, with all the ups and downs, with a government that sometimes frustrates us. Take time to thank those who allow us to live in this beautiful country. That's what Veterans Day is all about. It is a day to remember, to say those 2 words, thank you, to every veteran you come across, and those who you don't. We'll take a break. Come back. When we come back, we're going to open the phones. If you served in the military, I'd like to hear about it. What branch were you in? I'm going to tell you about a friend of mine who I recently went to California with, a name that happens to be known in this area because of his business. But I have to tell you the story. We will do that when we return. Right now, I want to take a moment to talk about Quick Lane Freeland and McDonald Ford because, you know, originally when I wrote this, it said Michigan is not far, or winter is not far away. Look outside, friends. It's here. Snow, ice, we had it all. And driving could be tricky. You need a margin of safety, and you can do it with winter tires because winter tires are different, as we learned from John at Quick Lane in Freeland.
Hello, Art. Yes, winter tires are made with a pliable rubber compound that includes silica to stay flexible and maintain grip in freezing temperatures. Unlike harder all-season tires, which stiffen and lose traction in the cold, this flexible compound allows the tire to better conform to the road surface, providing superior grip and traction on snow and ice to keep you safe.
Thanks, John. Stop into Quick Lane Freeland today, get a tire check, and don't forget, all tires are only $5 over cost at Quick Lane Freeland. And stop into McDonald Ford. Take a look at all the new Ford models and their extensive range of quality pre-owned vehicles for any budget. And at this time, Tom McDonald Jr. and Tom McDonald III, and the entire staff at McDonald want to thank veterans for their service to this great nation and what it's done for us. Quick Lane Freeland, McDonald Ford, two names standing ready to serve all of your automotive needs.
Reliable plumbing and
All right, we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show. As I mentioned recently, the last 2 weeks prior to this week, I was on vacation. Part of those days were spent in San Diego, California, where the USS Midway is a museum. Midway was the longest active serving carrier for many, 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 many years. And a good friend of mine, whose name you will recognize, Art Noe, who owns Art Noe Appliances, formerly known as the Maytag store. Art is a veteran. He served in the U.S. Navy, and he was one of 13 of the original recommissioning officers when the Midway was recommissioned for the third time. It was the longest serving aircraft carrier. Back in the, this is probably mid to mid-late 60s. He was a Lieutenant JG going in and served several years active duty in the U.S. Navy, and then stayed in the Navy Reserve for 20-plus years after that, retiring as a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy Reserves. So we went to see the Midway, which was his ship that he served on, and were treated with the respect due someone who served on the ship. The ship is owned by the Midway Museum nonprofit, and the head of ship security became our tour guide. Showed us around the ship, down low, up high. I mean, it was pretty extensive, and saw a lot of interesting things that I had never known, never knew about an aircraft carrier, never was on one before, and it was really impressive. But Art, as a veteran, like many, unless you knew he was a veteran, you would never know he was a veteran. He doesn't brag about it, doesn't show it off. It was part of his life, as so many veterans are. That's why you never know whether that person you're standing next to fought to give you the freedoms that you have. So I'm always looking out for veterans, some sign that there's a veteran. Maybe it's a hat they wear, maybe it's a coat they wear, maybe it's in some kind of setting where veterans are, just to say thank you. Just to say thank you. It is fitting that we have a couple of days a year to officially remember them. Veterans Day being a federal holiday, that is November 11th. But we also have Memorial Day, which is an even more solemn day. This is a day where we thank veterans for their service, we remember veterans. But Memorial Day is the day we set aside to remember those who, as Abraham Lincoln wrote, gave the last full measure of devotion. But the way I look at it, every day is Veterans Day. Every day is Memorial Day. Because without those sacrifices made by those men and women, we wouldn't enjoy the kinds of days we enjoy in this country as a free nation. So to me, every day is Veterans Day. I don't just thank veterans on November 11th. I thank them year-round when I see them. I can remember sitting in the Grand Hotel dining room. We used to go up there and broadcast. And so we would have dinner in the dining room. And I remember that there was a Marine who was in full dress uniform with a young lady by his side, who came in and sat down at a table not far from us in the dining room. So as I finished dinner and got up to leave, I walked over to him and simply said, "Thank you for your service." He looked at me almost with a tear in his eye. His answer was simple. "It's my pleasure." And in giving him that quick little thank you, as I left the restaurant, it was sort of emotional. It was like, wow, he really took it to heart. And here he was, like everybody else in the restaurant, there to have dinner. But he was very thankful that I recognized his service, and I was thankful for his service, and felt good walking out of that restaurant knowing that I had helped make his day a little bit. So if you know a veteran, you see a veteran, thank a veteran today. All right, back with you on this Veterans Day. A few moments left. If you're wondering what's open and closed today, the stock market, and this is kind of strange, the stock market is open today, but the bond market is closed. I don't understand why, but that's the way it is. So it's regular business on the stock market, so we will have our Baird market report